For our next panel, please welcome our host, Wendy Forsythe, with our fellow agents Brandon Brittingham, Chantel Ray, Justin Havre, and Matt Fetick.
Good morning, everyone. How are we doing so far? We might need a little more energy for this panel for that. How are we doing so far? All right. So you guys know that we use this hashtag quite often that has become a little bit of a battle cry for us, and that is where the pros go to grow. But where the pros go to grow is not just a hashtag we put on social media. It's not just a slogan we put on t-shirts. It truly is the DNA of EXP. So up here with me, I have 4 pros of our industry who recently chose to join us and partner here at EXP to continue to grow their business and their legacy. Do you guys want to hear a little bit about their story? All right. Well, let's meet some of our pros here. Brandon, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about your real estate story? Kind of give us the elevator version of it.
Yeah, so we were the number 1 team in the state of Maryland, number 2 team by Real Trends for small teams, pretty much for a really long time. Have a bunch of real estate ancillary companies. We control everything around the transaction. Have a huge real estate investment business, huge property management business. That's how I became bald, managing properties. But we had built this ecosystem, and it just made a ton of sense for everything EXP was doing for us to come.
Amazing. So when did you join us at EXP?
45 days ago.
45 days ago. Amazing. And that other company you were with prior to joining us, how long were you with that company?
I'd never left. I'd been there for 16 years. I'd only been at one company my whole career. I was unrecruitable. Seriously. And one piece of advice that I would give everybody here, don't recruit people. Today, starting today, from now on, you're going to become a professional inviter, because this is an opportunity that people should all be invited to. But when people tried to recruit me or they tried to sell me, I didn't listen. When people invited me, when the conversation turned to an invitation, that's when I listened. And there's a me in your market that wants to come with you. You just haven't invited them yet.
I love that. Well said, Brandon. That's amazing. Chantel, tell us a little bit about your story. When did you join us?
Actually, this past week.
This past week. So she's still, you're not even it's a blur, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a blur, but it's been absolutely amazing. I started out as the Chantel Ray team, and our team just in the Virginia Beach area, we ended up selling 1,500 homes in 1 year. And then we actually had people start to leave to go to EXP. And they were like, well, we love the team, but we feel like we don't need leads anymore. And now we can, we want ownership stock and we want rev share. And so I had this brilliant idea. Let me just copy everything EXP did, right? And so I created a company called CanZell. Instead of Cancel, CanZell. And we just started having, we're all taught, become an individual agent, then grow this team, and then build your own brokerage. And so we were so profitable when we were a Chantel Ray team. We were just really crushing it. And then when I decided to copy everything EXP did, we had 6 full-time web developers on staff. We grew to 20 states, so think about the number of brokers that we had, and payroll was outrageous. So our revenue was through the roof, but our profit was really low. And so what I always say is revenue is for vanity, profit is for sanity. And so
Well said.
So honestly, for the last 3 years, I really made myself sick. I ended up getting so sick because I was working so hard, and I'm doing so well now. I'm doing so great because all the stress has come off.
Being a broker is not easy.
I tell people, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. The last 3 years, of opening a brokerage, I don't think people understand just the expense of it all. And so for me, my ultimate goal, I want to live on 10% of my income and give 90% of it away. And yeah, so that's just something that God called me to do this past year. I gave 76% away, but I realized if I wanted to be able to hit that goal by the time I was 54, I had to go to a place where I could make an astronomical amount of money so then I could turn around and be a blessing to other people with it. So
that's great. Well, we are so happy that you're here.
Thank you.
Justin, let's go to your story. So you've joined us. It will be a year in November, right?
November 1st will be 1 year.
1 year. So so next week, this week, what week is it? I don't know. So in a couple days.
Couple of days, yeah.
So tell us a little bit of your backstory for the folks that don't know, and then tell us a little bit about what's happened this last year.
Yeah, so I got into real estate about 20 years ago and was with an independent brokerage for about 9 years. Decided it was time to make a change from that. Switched over to a pretty big franchise brand, and we operated in that system for about 9 years, where we were, ranked number 1 in the country for a number of years for units and so forth. But it became very clear to me that, the real estate landscape was changing, the broker landscape was changing, and I was always looking at ways to create more value for my partners on the team. And I also explored, obviously, open up my own brokerage, and that didn't seem very appealing to me because, again, you see how many brokers are trying to create value for their agents, and it seems like it's a race to the bottom. Not only to mention all the liability that they take on, and for myself to go, okay, should I go and invest into opening up a brokerage, but then who's going to acquire that brokerage? And especially in Canada, the broker landscape is not that appealing. And it was when a friend of mine was looking at leaving another brokerage to go explore other options, where we sat down and I was actually kind of helping him try to make a decision. So I wasn't personally involved. So my sales guard was like completely down. Probably had about 300 recruiting calls for me to come over here prior to, and I just wasn't open to it. But it was that process where we were sitting there looking at his business to move his business over, where we then started looking at EXP, and I was like, crap.
You were like, oh.
This is actually really good.
Yeah, turns
right?
out.
Contrary to, again, everything that we were said when we were at the other places where, you're not going to get support. Well, guess what? We have better support than we ever had before. A couple of days ago, and this is a big round of applause to all the staff at EXP. When they have an average response time for us when we call our brokers at 35 seconds. Come on, you never had a 35-second answer time at your previous brokerage, I'm sorry to say.
Yeah.
Right? We were told, it's going to take forever for you to get paid. Well, one of my agents has gotten paid from the time that they handed over keys to a transaction that was brokered outside of the brokerage to the time that they got notification on their phone that it had been deposited in the bank account was 34 minutes. Right?
That's incredible.
So all these things where they're saying, you're going to go to EXP, you're not going to have the support. I mean, we live it. It's not the case at all.
Yeah, and I really feel that's a narrative that we have to get louder about,
100%.
As a community, because we get picked on almost. How can you possibly have that sort of operational efficiency?
Well, it's just like how some of them get offended when somebody says traditional brokerage. Yes. They try to weaponize cloud-based brokerage, right? And this is where we just need to educate, the agents out in the marketplace that, hey, you know what, this is the way of the future. We are the Amazon of real estate, and this is where the industry is going. And to be at a brokerage where they take 50% of the revenue they collect from the agents and redistribute that amongst the agents. Go ask your broker if you're at a normal not a normal brokerage, but the old brokerages, and ask them if they'll be willing to share 50% of their revenue with all the agents in the brokerage. I'm pretty sure they're going to say, not a chance. because they're trying to make a profit, but this is, again, how this brokerage is set up. And for myself, it was about creating value for all of my team members. My core focus always has been the team and production. But in making the switch over, one of the things that we got to experience was we saw a 400% increase in inbound inquiries of agents wanting to join our team. The only thing we changed was the name of the brokerage. And we had agents that say, well, now that you're with a brokerage that we believe in, we want to join you. They couldn't justify where we were before. And that was a big surprise to me. You know, we moved over, we had 60 agents. We lost 10 in the move because you will lose some whenever you make a big business move like this. Not everybody may be aligned at the time or they're not open to it. And we grew up to 90 agents within a year.
That's amazing.
Right? Just
amazing.
that's on the team in itself.
Yeah, that's great.
One thing I want to say on with Justin, I've known Justin for a really long time. And one of the big reasons why I came, and him and I never even had a conversation about why. Like, I saw that he moved, and that was enough. I didn't even need to know why, because I know how he operates and he runs his business because we've been homies for a really long time. So, and I'll tell you guys, too, I went down every rabbit hole. The CEOs of all the big companies are all my friends. And I went through every single one before I made the decision. And I was like, it's not even a choice. Like, hands down, EXP's got them smoked. Every category.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, Matt. Please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your story and how long you've been with us here at EXP.
So it's been 90 days.
90 days.
90 days after 20 years at the same brokerage.
Wow.
Right? So that was a big move for me. I come from a sales business owning brokerages, owning part of a region. So my background and my mindset's kind of around the entire piece, right? From owning and being a broker, owning brokerages, and being an agent. And I'll tell you, when I made the decision that I wanted to focus solely on my sales business and not be in the brokerage business, but really focus on the sales business, and I started looking around, I thought, where do I want to be to create the team of 2030, right? Like, what does the sales team look like in 2030? And I looked around at different options and different models, and I was a never EXP guy. There was no way I was not going to EXP under any. There was no convincing me of it. And I had some really great opportunities that were laid out in front of us. And good friends of mine, Fred Weaver and Kevin Kaufman, who've been with EXP now for quite a while. We were good friends at our other brokerage. They just, like Brandon said, just silently were reaching out over the last 6-7 years, invitations, just quietly sitting out there. And I was ready to pull the trigger on a different brokerage. And another friend said, you know what, you really owe it to Kevin and Fred to have the conversation. Like, you haven't moved in 20 years, you're not moving again. You owe it to your relationship with them. You need to listen. So I did. And I was like, okay, tell me more, and took it in. And then I started thinking a bit bigger. I knew Leo. I've known Leo for quite a while. And I thought, what's going on? Of course, knew Glenn. And then, of course, as he's built EXP, I thought, maybe there's something here I need to look at a little bit more. So I got on the phone with both of them and just said, okay, I'm really just going to listen, and took it in, and it was great. And then Leo had this really great follow-up. Again, not even, when are you making a decision or what are you doing? It was, what's going on in your business? How can I help? What do you need to know? And it just was this really good consultative, consistent approach for me. And then I even took another step back and looked at it and thought, okay, let's even look further behind the scenes. The team is incredible. When I think about, again, where do I want my sales business in 2030, if you look at everything that the team that Glenn and Leo are putting together, it's really great, right? Brian Ellington, in charge of training and education, is world-class in training and education.
Yay.
Right? Mindy Grubb, running events, knows how to put on the best event as you're experiencing it today, right? Wendy in marketing, Holly Mabry in broker operations. I mean, these are really, really good, solid people that know how to make it work.
We really do have an amazing
You
team.
do. I mean, it is.
We really do.
It is. So when I made the move, and having recruited hundreds of agents into my own brokerage, right? Hundreds of agents, I thought, I've done it, and I've had this same thing. I've said over and over, it's not as bad as you think, blah, blah, blah. But when you're on the other side, you're going like, holy crap. Like, how do I get an escrow check tomorrow? Like, I have a closing tomorrow. How do I get this? How do I get that? And I was like, what? How do we make this work? As we started the onboarding process, I was blown away at the questions that were asked to make the process smoother. And I'm like, why did I never ask this? Like, how could I, in 10 years of recruiting hundreds of agents, how did I not think of that issue? How did I not think of that question? How did I not have that prepared? The onboarding team was incredible. Checklists, go here, this is a link to this, do this. And they just had it so organized. I'm like, I'm at a complete loss how I could have owned a brokerage and never thought about those things. And somewhat embarrassed. Like, I had this kind of thing like going like, oh my gosh, how did I get it wrong? And quite frankly, I did it pretty good. So the systems blew me away. The onboarding was incredible. I couldn't believe that in 24 hours, we were taking listings, putting them in. It was very intuitive. We didn't need a trainer to teach us how to use the tech because it was intuitive, it was easy, it was right on there. I love that EXP hasn't tried to create its own tech and has bundled together and made stuff work together that's just intuitive.
Yeah.
So I have found all that stuff to be really incredible, and I have to give a shout out to the PA broker team. Again, I kind of come from a place,
PA broker team in the house.
They really, again, I wanted to make sure I was doing things not the way I've done them for 20 years, but the way
Right.
EXP wanted me to manage things. And when I reach out to Jen or Michael or David or on the broker team, it's immediate. It's the moment you ask for it, they're there. It's friendly. You're not interrupting their day. They really have made the transition far better than I could have even imagined.
That's amazing. Renee talked about fear, right? And the impact that fear has on our decision making, right? And on our mindset and on our life. And I think for a lot of people, the fear of making a brokerage move, right, keeps them where they're at. And I think what you've all shared here today is just how getting past that fear can take you to a whole other level, right? And quickly, because I think that's one of the important messages of what you shared as well. Matt, you just said, like, we're doing business, like, day of, right? Like, making the transition going forward. So let me ask you guys a question. If anyone here was talking with somebody who was living in that place of fear and hesitant about making a change, would you guys be willing to talk to them?
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys heard it, right?
Yeah.
Like, you heard it. You got 4 people here. So we've got a couple minutes to wrap up. Can you guys each share, like, what advice would you give? Like, you're killer in production, you're growing your rev share orgs. Like, give just a solid piece of advice to the audience as a takeaway.
Well, if you're talking about wanting to grow your downline and get people over here with you, which I think I was never sold on rev share because that's not what I cared about. And now that I'm here and I understand it, like, I'm freaking blown away with what we can do, right? But what I want to tell you is it's not what you say, and this is for your customer, for your agents and people that you're trying to bring over here, it's what they experience. I want you to understand that. And if you want people to come join you or do business with you, you have to project out there what the experience is going to be like. And to Matt's point, Leo never, ever pressured me. The growth team never pressured me. They just said, Brandon, this is what the experience is going to be like when you get over here. And that just completely sold me. 2 things I'll tell you. Lean on the growth team when you can. And then if you've got a whale in your market, just call the big dog in. Call Leo the closer.
That's right. Okay, Chantel.
One thing when you try to, like, for me, I tried to open up my own brokerage. Well, I did, but I had so many hats that I was having to wear. And my best skill, you have to figure out what your best skill. My best skill is marketing. When you go to Moe's, welcome to Moe's. It's MOE, marketing over everything. And that's what I know how to do best. And now I can put that in my wheelhouse. And so, like, I can teach everyone here what to do to get more leads, get people in their downline. And I have a class that I normally charge $500 for. So if anyone wants it for free, just it's at chantelray.com. You can go there and get that class for free. But for me, the rev share is the biggest thing. And it was funny, I was actually talking to Gene Frederick, who's recruited so many agents to EXP, and I said to him, I said, did you know one of these competitors, XYZ competitor, when you have to stay in production to get rev share? I said, isn't that cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs? And he goes, honestly, I don't really know what any of the other companies are doing. He's like, I just know everything about EXP. And I had just listened to a podcast, and it was about how the federal agents, when they're studying the dollar, the way they spot a counterfeit, they don't learn the counterfeit. What they learn is they study the dollar bill, and they know it so well that when they see a counterfeit, they know it right away. And so it's amazing. And so learn what EXP has to offer. And when you learn all the things that Glenn just announced, that when you cap, your 5 levels open up. And when you're an icon agent, your 7 levels open up. That's insane. And literally the leadership here is willing to do whatever it takes to be number one. And I want to be on a winning team. Like, get on the winning team.
That's
literally.
awesome. You are on a winning team, Chantel.
Yes.
All right, Justin, we got to wrap it up.
You know, focus on production. Production is a core focus to fund any revenue share, period. And it will also organically attract people to want to partner with you. My core focus has always been production, but in less than a year, nearly 300 agents in the downline, and it's year one. It's going to be fun to see what happens, but at the same time, core focus, production, that's what we're known for. Keep doing that, and they will organically come and join us.
Yeah, I love what both of you had a common theme there of like really focus on your core strength. Yeah. That's awesome. Matt?
It's critically important for your sales business to be aligned with the company that's going to support your vision for where you want to go, not for where you are today.
Yep.
Where do you want to be in 2030? So whether it's for your sales business growth or for your rev share growth, you've got to pick the right business, the right company to be in. And looking at other ones that are similar, maybe in blue in color, that kind of looks similar to EXP, what you got to do is you got to look behind the curtain and see who's leading the charge in the real estate industry, and who's leading this charge in the real estate industry is Glenn, Leo, and the team here, period.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm gonna wrap us up with a promo for Brandon, who tomorrow is doing a mastermind. And we didn't get to touch on it up here today, but investing in all of the various revenue streams that we all have the ability to tap into is something that is like really, really something to be leveraged. And you're going to be doing some stuff on that tomorrow, right?
Yeah, just one thing I'll say really quick. How many people in here have ever sold a house for an investor where they got a really big check at settlement and you're sitting at nobody? Like everybody in this room, and you're sitting at settlement and they got a huge check and you got just a small amount. You guys hear what I'm saying on that? Guess what you were in that transaction? Transaction coordinator. What if you could be the person that was a transaction coordinator and get that check? And we're bringing this to EXP. We're going to show you guys our entire blueprint of how we built our investment business, and we're launching a new mastermind inside of EXP. This is how much they care about you guys. They want to teach you how to be wealthy the same way we've done it, called Expanded Investing. Yeah, we're pretty excited about it. And tomorrow is the first session. We're going to give you the mini mastermind, and we're launching the mastermind next year. So pretty excited about that.
Awesome. Let's give them a round of applause, you guys. Where the pros go to grow.